All right, well, welcome everyone. My name is Lorena Buck, and I'm a principal here at BCG and in our Boston office. I've been with the Boston Consulting Group now for 5 years. And today's chat is meant to give you a little bit of insight on what it's like to be a consultant. One thing that's unique about my background is that I'm a former ADC, and by ADC I mean Advanced Degree Candidate, which includes people who are pursuing PhDs or have postdocs, MDs, or so medical degrees, or JDs. I myself have a degree in biological engineering. I studied liver inflammation and cancer at MIT. What about you, Matt?
So my name is Matt Langione. I'm a consultant here in the Boston office, second year. And I too have a PhD, so I'm also an ADC. I did mine at Berkeley, where I studied the influence of reading on the brain and what it says about human intelligence as a way to understand what's distinctive about artificial intelligence. So as Lorenna mentioned, our goal is to give you a look at what it's like to be a consultant at BCG. We'd like to share a bit about our transition here to consulting and some of the really rich, various, interesting work that we do here and the resources that are available to you to help you make the transition to consulting. You know, as we chat, just keep in mind that everyone's experience and path to and through BCG is different. So we're going to give you our experience, but also encourage you to seek out the opinion of the BCGers that you meet live and in the flesh to see how they have transitioned to consulting, what some of the experiences they've had are. So, Lorena, you've had a very interesting educational background, personal background. Do you want to kick us off by talking about what brought you to BCG and how you personally got into it as a PhD?
Sure. So for me, I had spent about 10 years studying healthcare in various forms. So I had worked in industry as well as then doing my PhD and going into academia for a period of time. And at the end of that 10 years, I just felt like I wasn't sure that I wanted to stay in healthcare. It was a great time to get a chance to branch out a little bit, to see some other things, and to see if there were ways to make impact on a shorter time scale than what you oftentimes do in academia.
Yeah, that resonates, for sure.
What about you? What got you into consulting, Matt?
So I think for me, a lot of what you said resonates as well. For me, there are three things. I mean, basically, in my academic work, I had, encountered a lot of really rich, interesting people. But what I found is that we often worked in silos. So I was really kind of compelled by the opportunity to work in really collaborative fashion with interesting people. And the second was, like you said, the time period thing. So in terms of making an impact, it's not 7-10 years away. It's 7 or 10 minutes away. Yeah. And then I think lastly, I think I was a little bit uncertain. I knew that I was kind of done with academia, that had run its course. Knew that I wanted to go into industry, but of course I hadn't thought much about industry before. So I thought that consulting in general would give me the opportunity to really range freely across a really diverse terrain of topics and industries and experiences there. And really, those three things have been promises delivered since I've got here. I've had a great experience. I think when thinking about that's sort of the transition to consulting, I think it was a really difficult decision for me to come to consulting, and then it was a really easy decision to come to BCG. So that's kind of been my road.
Great. And I know I personally was just amazed at the resources that BCG offers to help that transition into consulting, especially with that advanced degree background. And I'm sure you were too. What stands out as making the difference in that transitional period for you?
Yeah, there are a lot of things. I mean, BCG is one of the best learning environments I think you could have, especially for someone like me who really didn't have much industry experience, hadn't really thought too much about it for a number of years during my research. It starts with entry-level skills training, which is about a week-long program with all new consultants across the region, and basically it's a crash course on the essentials that you need, from kind of the communication style to the working and collaborative environment. to even basic things like Excel and PowerPoint and some of the tools of the trade. And then we also, for advanced degree candidates, have what we call the Business Essentials program, which is a mini MBA, a few weeks long, where really you learn things like corporate finance, marketing, accounting. So you're doing kind of the typical 2-year MBA program in a crash course, which is typical and appropriate of BCG, how we work here.
Pretty amazing how you can fit an MBA into just 2 weeks.
That's
huh?
right.
Yeah, I remembered my time doing ELST and BEP, both of those programs, and they were really fun times just to feel like you start to build a network pretty early on, right, in your career.
Yep.
I think another piece of building that network early on was, for me, just getting exposed to other advanced degree candidates, who were working either on case teams with me or just in the office. And so I know my first case, I actually had a partner and a principal who were both advanced degree consultants on my team, and it definitely made that transition a lot easier.
Sure.
All right, so let's talk about the work. Tell me about one of your favorite cases. What did you like about it, Matt?
So one of my favorite cases is actually the one that just ended. So I worked for a major global technology company, and they had this legacy product that's really a cash cow for them in this traditional segment. But what they were trying to understand was whether this product could actually be marketed to like new age, sexy tech companies like the ones that you have in your phone. You have a smartphone, right?
I do.
Okay, and so what it actually entailed was a lot of market research. So what I got to do is go out and interview the CTOs and CIOs of all of these companies, that I use regularly on my phone, and really learn about what their needs were. And I found a lot of really surprising things, had interesting conversations, surprising things. I actually got to work with one of my kind of intellectual heroes at the company itself, who I encountered in my PhD work. So that was really a great experience. But it wasn't just a good learning experience for me. It also, the finding was that indeed they could market this to this segment. And I think that we had gone in with the assumption that it was kind of a long shot. So it was obviously great to have that success. And since basically since the project, we set up a kind of a marketing program for them, a set of key messages. So they could market it to this new segment, but they needed to change the way that they were messaging it. And they've had a lot of success. They're really running with it. They have some proof of concepts out there, and so that was great in terms of both what I was able to learn, the experiences and exposure that I was able to get, but also the impact for the client.
Great, yeah.
How about you? What case stands out for you?
I've had so many fun cases, but one in particular that I got to work on last year was actually a woman-owned consumer goods company. And so it was a lot of fun for me, just personally being a woman, to get to work with, honestly, just a senior executive team that was both so smart, but also so similar to me, because I think you find that more rarely, at the senior levels in business. And so getting to work with this very fast-growing company to be able to help them think through their strategy, and specifically, thinking about, what's the next product that we should be thinking about launching, and how much room is there to grow, and, what are the right retailers to be partnered with to be able to really create the right brand identity and to resonate with consumers. It was just a lot of fun, and it felt very impactful to help this company feel like they had the proof points that they needed to feel like they could really, march down a path to take them to success.
Amazing.
So one of the great things about working at BCG every day is that every project is different. And so I know there's no truly typical work week, but we're going to challenge you today, Matt, for our viewers everywhere, to describe one anyway.
Oh boy. All right, well, challenge accepted. So you're right, there's really no kind of typical day or week. But I would say that there's two types. There's the sort of the travel week or the non-travel week, and kind of depending on your office, your industry, you may do more or less travel. But I'm going to describe a travel week, partially because I prefer to travel, and we may have different opinions on that, but it's my preference, and also because it's kind of the more fun one to describe. So travel, typically you leave Monday morning, you get up, get on the plane or the train or whatever it is, go to the client site Monday, and then return on Thursday. Fridays are for fun and affiliation. And And so let me describe like a day, like a Tuesday maybe then, Tuesday or a Wednesday. So you're at the client site. So for me, it always starts, like 6 a.m., the alarm clock goes off. I hit snooze like 15 times instead of working out. So every day starts with failure. No one's fault but my own. And then, all right, so about 7:30, I like hop in the shower, get to the client site by 9. I've had 3 coffees. And then typically maybe like 9:30 or so, we'll have a client meeting. So get out of there at 10:30, change some of the inputs in my Excel model based on what we heard from the client, go to lunch at 12:30. We'll come back, run through the model with my manager, my project leader, and then then we'll have like a CTM in the afternoon where the partners come in and they have their inputs on.
And what does CTM stand for?
It's a case team meeting. Yeah. So the whole team will get together and talk about how the thinking and the logic has changed and shifted. The partners usually want to kind of put their spin on things. So after that, we'll have maybe like a whiteboarding session. Say that ends around 7. Then we go out to a team dinner, which is really fun. Typically happens at least once a week, where you'll have kind of a fun, loose team dinner. And then get back to the hotel around 10. And because I'm getting old, that'll probably be it for the day. Maybe a few emails, go to bed and start again. So yeah, that's kind of that's the way that I think of it. I mean, not all days go the same, but that would be kind of a typical down the middle sort of day for me.
Nice. Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right that everyone has a different day. Most of my days end up being in the office, so I wake up in the morning, I take my son to daycare, and I roll into our lovely office with beautiful views in Boston around 8:30 with 1 coffee, not 3.
Well, you don't have the Italian heritage.
Well, that's just fair. This is fair. And yeah, I think we end up having a lot of similarities in terms of what happens during the day and what that feels like. Obviously, on the principal side, it's a little bit different than on the consultant side because I get to react to the things that my team is working on as opposed to being the one that actually owns the model at this point. But it is a very collaborative working environment and one that's very close-knit, so it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Well, so you mentioned your son. It leads to my next question. I have 3 at home as well. Consulting can be demanding. How do you deal with some, work life? How do you manage? What are your tips and tricks for maintaining a good work-life balance?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of that has to do with whatever is important to you. So kind of to your point around, if you want to prioritize the gym, then you just got to stop hitting the snooze button.
Impossible.
But everyone has their own things they prioritize. For me, actually, what I try to prioritize is really family time, and I've made that work in 2 ways. One is actually being able to work from the office most of the time and being able to limit the travel that I do. So that I can spend more time at home. And the other one is, for me, I prefer to work in the evenings and on the weekends a little bit if it means that I can protect a few hours of my evening to be able to go home and see my son every night.
Got it. Yeah. And for me, it's sort of a similar thing. When I'm traveling, I try to make sure that on Thursday I'm home really early for the kids. We have 3 young boys, so they go to bed at 7 o'clock, in a crashing fashion. So I need to get there pretty early to make sure that I'm there for the final flourish. And then for me on the weekends, I think in 2 years at BCG, I don't know if I've cracked my laptop on the weekend because it's just really imperative for me that I kind of keep them from knocking their head into things and frustrating my wife to no end. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of respect for your personal time here, and I think that was really distinctive to me when I was thinking about the transition from academia into consulting.
All right, so let's wrap up with some rapid fire questions about life at BCG. Are you ready, Matt?
I was born ready.
All right, what are some of your favorite things about working at BCG?
Probably the impact that you can have in a short period of time and just seeing meaningful, tangible results. That for me is like the primary satisfaction, I think. And then also, I guess the second piece would just be the way that our work satisfies my intellectual curiosity. That was one worry that I had coming out of academia, like would I be able to generate the same kind of enthusiasm for these problems that I had, for my primary work? And I think that the answer is yes, and it's ever shifting, and just the growth trajectory is just so steep.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I find that I can be interested in just about any problem for a month's worth of time.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
And I know for me, the people has been one of the biggest things that I also really love about BCG.
Yeah.
Just the caliber of the people that we get to work with.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
What's the most interesting place that you've visited while working at BCG?
Oh, I think early on in my illustrious tenure here, I got the opportunity to do a case right near the French Alps. So my first case team event was actually skiing in Courchevel.
Nice.
And I haven't necessarily topped it yet, but I've had other good ones too. But I think that's got to be it for me.
It's pretty great.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of cases that have taken me into wine country, which has been pretty wonderful.
That might be better.
Yeah. And what surprised you the most after you started at BCG?
Probably the pace of the work. I think that you go from academia where like asking for an extension is a quotidian thing. I'm not sure I ever failed to ask for one, and we just here it's really rapid fire. I think it's actually a good thing because it actually necessitates the degree of collaboration and teaming we have, but things do move fast. I think that was a surprise.
I think I was surprised by that too. Yeah, but I agree with you. I think in a lot of ways it was actually very exhilarating to come and find that things move at a much faster pace than they do in academia.
Yeah.
And what is your must-have business travel item?
Well, it's actually my hairpiece. No, my must-have business item for travel. Let's see. I guess I would probably say my double monitor. At this phase,
travel with a double
I travel
monitor?
with a very, very sleek and attractive double monitor that slips right in the briefcase.
Wow, that's impressive.
It's great for Excel.
I do not have anything that's that cool. And what keeps you here at BCG?
You do. You are forcing me here against my will. No, at BCG, I would say it probably is a combination of the people. Again, I had this notion that that BCG would just be full of really interesting people and great team players, and that's something that I've just been really happy to continue to find with every new crop of folks that come in. It's just really energizing. And then the second thing is just, again, that steepness of the learning trajectory. I just continue to learn. And for me, I had been a serial academic before BCG, so just, when I'm learning new things fast, that's when I'm happiest. And that trajectory has never flattened out for me.
Yeah. Well, I can say it's the same for me, even as a principal, so it doesn't go away.
All right. Well, that was great. But the time's come to wrap up for this session. We hope it helped you learn what to expect at BCG and give you some insight into our experiences as former advanced degree candidates and now consultants. For more information about careers at BCG, you can visit our website. We've added links to the comments section on this video. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.